All right, so I want to welcome you to the Building Empowered Teams mini course. If you chose to be on the early bird waitlist for the Empowered Teams workshop, it's probably because you're a leader who wants to grow your team and get more out of your team and maybe see what you can do as a leader to be a better leader for your team. I'm the owner of New Work Revolution, and we have this crazy notion that at New Work Revolution that people should enjoy the work environments that they work in. And so we've been on a mission for the last 16 years helping people do that. Now, my story around this is a long one, really, and it's got a lot of peaks and valleys along the way. I got my first leadership assignment when I was 25 years old back in 2001. And like a lot of people who are in their 20s, I thought I knew everything there was absolutely to know about leading teams. And what I found in the process of leading teams is that I didn't know nearly as much about doing it as I thought I did. And the result of that is about 9 or 10 months into my leadership assignment, I actually thought I was going to get fired. Now, I had moved to a city I'd never lived in. In the time that I'd gotten promoted to the time that I was in this place, I'd gotten married. And so I was really feeling this pressure of why is my team not performing better? Now, I'm going to tell you my story, not because my story is necessarily your story, but I want to illustrate the fact that we all have a place to start from. And for me, I had a lot of challenges in leadership that I didn't really see. I had a lot of blind spots about the ways I was showing up for my team that was creating a situation where my team was not inspired to do great work. Now, when my boss asked me what the problem was, I did the least leadership thing that I could possibly do. In that moment, I said, it's my team. If I had better teammates, if I had better players, our team would perform better. Now, my boss lovingly reminded me that when the team doesn't perform well, what does the team normally do? And I realized it's to get rid of the coach. And so I knew that I needed to change my behavior or change the situation if I was going to stay employed as a manager of that team. And so I started the hard work of getting feedback from my team and asking them some things about me that showed up when I came into my leadership. And there was a lot of things that I recognized that I didn't love. And I took that feedback. I went back to my boss. We talked about it. He sent me to a training around coaching. And coaching is one of those things that I believe is a underrepresented tool to help empower people because it puts each person squarely as cause in the matter of whatever situation that they're in. And so going to this coach training, it wasn't just the coaching skills that really helped me. It helped me to recognize that there were 3 specific areas that I really needed to do better in. The first one was consistency. I was not a very consistent leader. I constantly added all these new things to my plate, tried a bunch of different things at once, and I rarely followed through on the things that I said I was going to follow through on. Well, I believe that one of your currencies as a leader is your credibility. And if you don't have credibility with the people that you lead, then it's very hard to create influence with the people that you lead at the same time. So I had a credibility issue I recognized, and I went to work on that. The second thing for me was communication. I needed to be a better communicator. There's a lot of things that exist inside of our head that we think we've communicated so well to other people, when in reality, we have not communicated those things very well at all. And I had the curse of knowledge as a leader that I assumed that people knew the things that were inside of my head. But it wasn't just communicating proactively that really got in my way. It was my ability to have tough conversations and hold people accountable. I wanted to be nice when I got promoted, when I got into a leadership position. I wanted people to like me. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But the way I went about trying to be liked didn't work with my team. When you don't hold people accountable, and I learned this the hard way, you tell people on the team that are good performers that performance doesn't matter. And you tell poor performers that their performance is okay. my lack of holding people accountable really held me back. And so that was one of the things that I recognized in my communication, that not only do I need to be a more proactive communicator and a more intentional communicator, but I also need to be a communicator that holds people accountable and is willing to have the tough conversations as much as I possibly can. And the last thing that I learned, and this was the hardest thing for me, and I'll tell you why it was hard. I had a boss tell me early on, before I got promoted, when they were considering me for a promotion, I had a boss, it was my boss's boss, and he said, "Hey, can I give you some feedback?" And I was like, "Yeah, awesome." He's like, "Hey, your key to success is don't be friends with your people. Don't be friends with them. Don't get friendly, all this kind of stuff." And for me, I love that, because I was someone who spent a lot of time with my personal relationships holding people away from me and being very impersonal in my interactions with other people. That advice really resonated with me. Unfortunately, it didn't work out great for me, because when I tried it, I recognized that I failed to connect with the people that I worked with. And connection was one of the things that I noticed that I needed to improve on if I was going to be a better leader. People won't hear you until they know you. And people won't know you until you've made yourself known. I was not great at that as a leader, and it held me back in my leadership. So here's the interesting thing about this. I started to be more consistent. I started to communicate more intentionally, including holding people accountable, which I was scared that people wouldn't like me. Well, guess what? People liked me more, because now they trusted me. Now I was honest, and I started to connect in a meaningful way. And I think the best way to do connection is with having boundaries present. So I had to be really conscious of the boundaries that I put out there for other people. And so by doing this, here's the interesting thing that happened in this particular team. I took the exact same team that I was sure was a poor team that wasn't doing great. And what I did was I went ahead and adjusted my behavior. I went ahead and took responsibility for my team's failure and decided, what can I change? What can I do to be causing the matter in this situation? And by changing my behavior and doing some of the things that I talked to you about just now, I was able to take that team from an underperforming team where I thought I was going to get fired to a high-level team in the span of a couple of years, where I ended up getting promoted and promoted one of the people that worked for me to replace me in that process. And it's all because I embraced this idea of empowering teams to stop being the hero, to stop inserting myself into all the different areas, to stop telling people what to do all the time, and to give people the room to do their job that they were hired to do, that they are competent to do, because they are grown people who are adults who have hopes and dreams just like I do. So as we talk about this in the course, I hope you've learned some things just from my story to start. But I'm going to share with you 3 different areas that we're going to cover in building empowered teams to help you take right to your leadership right away to increase and improve your ability to create influence and your ability to trust the team that you work with. So stay tuned, because tomorrow I'm going to talk with you specifically about what gets in your way, what you do to get in your own way to creating empowered teams and what that looks like. You're not going to want to miss it, so stay tuned for that video.